Welcome to HSR Motorsport. Bonjour, comment ça va? Ça va bien and all that jazz. Today you join us for the HSR Motorsport LMU Multi-Class Season 2 Championship. And today you join us for round 3 here at Circuit de la Sarthe, or most commonly known as Le Mans. Yes, the host of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, probably the world's most well-renowned circuit, 13.6 kilometers long, or if you like your weird American stuff, 8.5 miles, although being in the UK I can say British as well. 8.5 miles long, hosting racing since 1923, so more than 100 years of history here at Le Mans. Great circuit for overtaking. We've got plenty of slipstreaming overtaking. Plenty of slipstreaming. I've made the same mistake twice. Plenty of slipstreaming opportunities and plenty of overtaking opportunities on that ever so long Mulsanne straight heading into the two chicanes, and then of course the Mulsanne hump and Mulsanne bend. We've seen plenty of action there in the past with some of the other communities that I've commentated for, so I'm looking forward to it today. We should have plenty of on-track action. Speaking of action, the plan for tonight, or shall I say the format, is similar to how it always is. The drivers have had an hour of practice under their belt already and now have 20 minutes of private qualifying. This means they cannot see each other. They have 20 minutes all to themselves on a clean, empty track. So they can just go absolutely crazy with their quali lap and not worry about being interfered with by anyone else, which is pretty cool for them. For us, though, it means we don't get any qualifying crashes. Not that we've had many, but yeah, last week was a first. Last week I had a different race on at Fuji, and a hypercar came out of the pits in the wrong qualifying session and took out a Ford Mustang. Yes, it took out an LMG T3 in the wrong qualifying session. Very, very interesting indeed. Yes, they do typically keep it to classes, but I can only imagine the chaos in multi-class, full out, all-on qualifying. So, speaking of, let's have a look at the on-track action. Before we do that, though, we do have a lovely little graphic up of the practice session result. As you can see, Sean Belder in the number 51 Ferrari right at the top, with Valentin Cordier, Cairo Samuel and Philip Schlichting, the four hypercars up at the top. Nico Dudek, Milan Mikolajczak, Brandon Kleinen, your top three for the LMG T3, while Christian Burgat, Wei Lin and William van Lagen round out the top 10 cars on grid so far. Harold Cook in P11, Jordan Gale P12, and Francesco Francesco rounds out your GT3 grid, while Kenneth L. Peterson didn't get any laps in, or any valid laps in, shall we say. Very interesting, to say the least. Ooh, no, don't do that. So, of course, qualifying, 20 minutes for everyone, and we have already gone through 6 minutes of that. At the moment, then, in terms of the hypercar qualifying results so far, we have got Belder on top at the moment. However, of course, lap times still need to be set. The circuit is so long. It takes about 2.5 minutes, I think, for these guys to set a lap. No, it can't just be 2.5 minutes. It's much longer. I think it's 2.5. I'm not exactly sure. I've not done too many Le Mans commentaries. This is only my second one. And the last time I didn't even have a proper track map printed out, so I didn't know what the Mulsanne bend was. I got that confused with the Indianapolis bend and the Arnage bend quite a few times. After the Porsche bend, nothing else. It was maybe a Dunlop Bridge, but that was it. The rest was a bit funky. At the moment, then, Belder pits. We are following Schlichting at the moment. And while we wait for these laps to finish, or shall we say for the rest of qualifying to commence, let us have a cast back to last week and the championship at hand. Yes, we are at round 3. This is going to be the halfway mark for the championship. We've got 6 races in this championship, so we're approaching the halfway point now. After this race, we will be exactly halfway through. At the top, then, Philip Schlichting, who we follow now in the Ferrari, currently on P1 with 54 points to his name. In P2, Kenneth L. Peterson on 45 points. However, the gap to Valentin Cordier is only 1 point, coming in at P3 with 44 points. The only 2 drivers then to have attended both races so far is Ioannis Lovanios and Craig Hewlett in P4 and P5, both on 33 and 31 points respectively. Now, as you can see, my assessment of how long a lap takes was massively off. Schlichting taking a 3 minutes 25 seconds, 0.6 to come across the line. Yes, very, very long indeed. Very long. Valentin Cordier currently on a flying lap, so we should see a lap time from him soon. Now, of course, last week we were at Bahrain, if I remember that correctly. I've just had a load of races come in on the LMU side of things recently, so I do apologise if I get them confused slightly. But yeah, last week we had Valentin Cordier lead pretty much the majority of the race, all 60 minutes of it, until we got to 4 corners before the end of the race, and then Schlichting made his move, taking the race lead and winning it with 3 corners spare, not having led a single lap of the race. That has to be said. Even with all the pit stops and whatnot, he didn't lead a single lap yet. With 3 corners to go, he made that move stick and took the race win. Now, it has to be said, though, that Cordier had locked up. So, I mean, you could argue it was actually Cordier's mistake. But then again, you could argue there's the pressure from Schlichting that he put on him. All that kind of stuff. He was defending from... Basically, Schlichting won with 3 corners to go. Amazing stuff. That's all I remember. It was good. We also had a massive battle between Philipp Schlichting. No, it wasn't Schlichting, sorry. Yes, we did have one, but it was between the LMGT3s. It was between Mikolicak and Stein von Orneker. They were throwing hands properly. They were absolutely sending it through turns 9 up through turn 15. That really narrow section where you can't really make overtakes. Yeah, they were trying to overtake there, and as you can imagine, it was not clean. There were plenty. Well, there was plenty of hands being thrown and plenty of bumps and bashes. But at the end of it, they both made it out alive, and they did manage to finish the race, which is a minor miracle considering the state of their cars afterwards. And all of that only resulted in a... Let me bring in standings real quick. Only resulted in a P10 finish for Mikolicak and a P6 finish for Stein von Orneker. So I wish it was for the race lead or podium positions at the top 5, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was further down the grid. I think it was something like P5, and then the pit stops came along, and yeah, we had all sorts of fun. Isol, welcome back, sir. Saying good job with the surnames, XD. Yes, the surnames are always a challenging bit. Yeah, it's a bit interesting. Schlichting though is fairly easy. Cordier, I just imagine that's French. Sounds French. Flag on his name is French, so it has to be French. Del Peterson, quite. Yeah, the rest are fairly self-explanatory. Let's see what the GT3s have got on their plate at the moment. And let's see if we can follow one of them right now. Nico Dudek currently on his first flying lap, and at the moment sending it down to the Arnage Bend. So let's see. Dudek on a 4:02.6, Mikolicak 1.4 seconds off the pace, only 0.2 separating him and Lynn for P2. Gail Koch, Francesco, Kleinen, Borgat, or is it Borjat? Borjat. There's all sorts of ways you can say it, and then Van Lagen down in P9. All sorts of funny ways you can say it. Christian Borgat, what is he driving? He's driving the BMW, and that is Dutch, as far as I know. Yes, that's the Dutch flag, so that's going to be Borgat. I'm trying to think of how Max Verstappen would say it. That's the only Dutch person I can think of. Christian Borgat. Yeah, let's leave that. So yeah, I think it's Borgat. And then we've got other cars, of course, Gail Koch, Francesco, always remember the Cars 2 icon, Formula car, Francesco Bernoulli. Oh, you know, if you watch that growing up, you will know that. Yeah, it's just ingrained in you, especially the way Sally rolls it off with the R's, Francesco Bernoulli. Plenty of R's. At the moment, Dudek, though, looking for a W in qualifying, coming across the line, and unfortunately not managing to improve so far, but he's still on pole position by a decent margin. Borgat, though, who we were talking about earlier, in the number 46 BMW, has managed to close the gap to Lynn, and is now only 300ths off of P3, so some decent stuff from the GT3 class at the moment. But I think we'll go back to our full mixed thingamabob, what do you call it, graphic up here, and we'll see if we can get a full lap in with one of the hypercars potentially to see what it's like racing around here. Kairu Samuel in the pit at the moment. Sorry, I thought he was on a flying lap. So we will go on board with Del Peterson once he comes around the final corner. We do have some comments. HX Vok DE Schlichting with a purple heart. So we've got some support for the number 51. No, it's not the 51. Yes, it is the 51. Sorry, I just got confused because Belda's also in the number 51 Ferrari. So there are 2 number 51 Ferraris, but it wasn't as confusing as it was just the other day when at Fuji we had 3 number 46 BMWs. Yes, 3 number 46 BMWs. That was incredible. That was really confusing. So at least at the end of the race they had spaced themselves out, so it was easier just to use their surnames. It generally is, but sometimes it's nice to use the car number. Especially, I imagine, once the endurance races start on Le Mans Ultimate and we get driver swaps in and stuff like that. Car number is going to be ideal for that. Dutch Steak asking Schlichting. Hypercar P number 1. Schlichting, yes, that guy we're talking. Who just last week, as we were talking about earlier, managed to snatch the race win away from Cordier right from under his nose on the final lap with 3 corners to go, having not led a single lap of the race. Very entertaining final lap there. It seems like we've had some really good final laps here at HSR recently. We've had some great stuff over on the ACC side of things. Last week we were at Brands Hatch and we had some great stuff there. Now, of course, we've got the onboard lap with Kenneth Del Peterson, if he does decide to go for a full lap. Right, so let's have a quick rundown of the circuit then. Cool, turn 1 through the Dunlop curve into the first chicane of the circuit, turns 2 and 3. Get a decent exit here out of turn 3 through the S's, Forest Esperend, and then out onto the main straight, turn 6 up ahead. That's going to be Tetra Rouge, or Tetra Rouge, if you want to say it the French way. I have to say the French accent is not my strongest one. Utilising all of the circuits on exit, and he does brake, so I'm not sure whether that's because he knew we were on board with him or not. All I know is he probably won't get round to getting back into the pits and going round for another. I'm thinking whether he could make it round circuit for another lap. At this pace, yes he could. If he were to pit though, no. Cool, and then into the first chicane, and I tried doing some research into the chicane. I do not know what it's called, even on the official Le Mans track map that they have on the Le Mans website. It only says first chicane. So I'll call it that. I wouldn't call it Daytona, Forza, or L'Arche chicane, whatever it was before. And then we head into the second chicane, which I think was called PlayStation chicane, or the Michelin chicane, but I should just call it the second chicane. Much more simple. Again, really nice to break up the Mulsanne straight with that. Can you imagine going straight on for absolute ages? Well, that's what they did back in the old days. Now through turn 8 and down into turn 9, we'll then have the Mulsanne hump and the Mulsanne bend. Kind of a little kick to the right before we hit a sharp right-hander. Slight elevation change here, a little bit of a decompression, but heading into the braking zone, that's going to be it's going to be a fairly straightforward corner. You just need to make sure you don't get caught out by the bend, by the little kink, because a lot of people actually catch themselves out on that the first time they drive. Then we've got down to turn 10, still essentially on the Mulsanne straight, even though it's gone through a couple bends now. Then into turn 11 and turn 10. What? Go turn 11 first, turn 10, and then turn 11. A little bit of lift and coast here through turn 10, then into 11, the Indianapolis bend, this sharp left-hander, lots of camber there, lovely little kind of angle there to use, and then into the Arnage bend. Again, utilising as much of the course as possible and maximising your exit speed. So that's going to be likely late apex stuff, sacrificing a little bit of time on the corner entry, and then you can go flat out for the rest of the corner. Now through turns 13 and then 14, we've got the Porsche bend, this right-hander to start off, a ton of S's and what they call bends on the track map. We've got a bridge bend, then you've got kart bend, which is this next right-hander because there's a karting track right next to it. And then it's out into turn 17. So this is kart bend, I think. You can see the karting track right next to it. And then you've got a couple chicanes ahead, but I only know the first one's name, and that's called the Ford chicane. And then, yeah, it's kind of like a double chicane. So you've got this first one, you've got another one after it. And then, of course, across the line to start/finish a lap here at Circuit de la Sarthe. And Peterson, yep, he's back on it, full send once more. So Valentin Cordier also currently on a flying lap we were talking about earlier. Unfortunately, losing ground on pole position, 1.8 seconds off the pace. It was only 1 second off before, so Schlichting has been putting in some good lap times recently. But this is Cordier's opportunity across the line for probably the last time. And no improvement so far. He's got one more attempt until qualifying is over, of course. As long as they cross the line before the timer runs out, they've got one more opportunity to do a lap. However, on the GT3 side of things, that takes about 4 minutes to do a lap. So for many of these drivers, their qualifying is already over. Dudek already done. Kleinen is the next challenger in P2. Mikolajczak still out on circuit as well, but he is one of the only drivers out. It's only Kleinen and Mikolajczak who are out on circuit for the LM GT3s at the moment. The rest of them could not manage to finish a lap within the allotted time. Well, no, sorry, most of them finished it within the allotted time. It's these guys that are the outliers who have managed to time their pit stops right, time their runs right to get the maximum out of the session, or they've just had a terrible session, and as a result, they are now trying to make up for that. So it's Brendan Kleinen and Mikolajczak who are the only variables here. P1 on the cards potentially for these two, depending on how they've been doing through their various sectors. For Brendan Kleinen, a bit off the pace in Sector 1. Sector 2, there's an improvement for him personally, but nothing really too crazy. Sector 3 will need to be amazing for him. Mikolajczak, though, is the other driver who improved. It's kind of the other way around. Improved in his first sector, slower in his second sector. Now, over on the hypercar side of things, Peterson is still on his flying lap. You can see the gap to P1 is much, much closer. An improvement for Peterson as is. So P3 at the moment for him. He needs to make up 4/10 on Cordier to take P2. But it's a much larger gap to Schlichting. And I think we'll stick to Peterson for now. He's almost at the end of the circuit. No, he's only about halfway through now. Just getting to the Arnage bend. Meanwhile, Kleinen, yeah, he's coming through the final sector now as well. And then Mikolajczak, so it'll actually potentially be the hypercar, the last one across the line. It will be Kleinen to be the first one through and finish his qualifying session out of the three cars currently still on circuits. The McLaren Inception number 70 car making his way around the final corner and across the line. Can he improve? Unfortunately not. Kleinen still in P3. Sorry, P2. It's Mikolajczak P3 at the moment. And we did see a massive battle between Mikolajczak and Von Uneker last week, but that was for something like P5, P6. This is potentially a run at P2 or even pole position here. And come the race, I'm sure he'll be elbows out for P2, giving it all he can. And across the line, he has made a decent improvement, but unfortunately still not enough to take pole position or P2 for that matter. And Valentin Cordier did come across the line as well, still P2 for him. Sorry, Kenneth L. Peterson was the last one. Only 2/10 off, so he did improve massively as well. Some good stuff from the Toyota driver, but unfortunately at the end of the day, he just couldn't quite hack it, and as a result, only manages P3. So, qualifying complete, 20 minutes of private qualifying over. We now have only the race lying ahead of us, 1 hour of non-stop action, and let's have a rundown on the starting order. So, starting on the front row of the grid, we've got Philip Schlichting qualifying pole, Valentin Cordier in P2, fitting drivers to start at the front of the grid considering last week's performance. Kenneth Del Peterson and Sean Belder line up in the second row, while Cairo Samuel rounds out our hypercar grid in the top 5. Nico Dudek, P1 for the LMGT3s, while Brandon Kleinen starts P7, and Milan Mikolajczak in P3 for his class. Wei Long Lin alongside Christian Borgat in row 5, P9 and P10 overall, with William van Lagen and Jordan Gale behind them in the Mustang and the Porsche. Then one of the final rows on the grid, Harold Koch and Francesco Rancesco, the two McLaren side by side, but two different teams, not on the same side here, and that is actually the end of the grid as well. As we wait for everyone to make their way to the grid to start an hour of racing. It is very fitting that we have Schlichting and Cordier up at the front in the same order that they finished in last week. We've only got 5 hypercars out tonight, as well as only 9 LMGT3s. I mean, the GT3s, they came out in 4th tonight, so at least they've been on the ball. But yeah, hypercars, come on, guys. You gotta get there. You gotta get to the start line. We need more hypercars. Noah's Ark formation then, heading down towards the final corner, or shall I say couple final corners, because of course it is a double chicane before we get to the start line, and then it'll then be a short sprint up around the right-hander of the Dunlop curve into the first chicane on circuit turns 2 and 3. And that's where we're going to see some utter carnage, I'm sure. Whether it be from the hypercars, whether it be from the LMGT3s, it doesn't matter. We're going to get some carnage either way. Only 14 cars out on track tonight then. A bit disappointing turnout, but nonetheless, I'm sure we'll still have an entertaining race. We've got all our championship protagonists still out on circuit who still care about the championship at this point in time. It is only the halfway mark, but you know, it's good to see them vying for every single point. But at the end of the day, I understand sometimes availability can be limited and it can be tricky. As we wait for the marshal to wave the green flag. And it's go time. 5 hypercars and 9 LMGT3s storm down to turn 1 to start an hour of racing. Schlichting covers off the blue Cadillac behind, and then we've got Belder on the inside for turn 1, but it was a good move from Cordier to cover the defensive line into turn 2, but we've had about 4 out of the 5 hypercars overshoot that corner in a bid to hold on to their positions, and it was Kenneth Del Peterson who actually managed to make the most out of that situation. Belder sneaking past just after that through the Forest S bend and onto Tetra Rouge now. Good stuff from the Ferrari, taking advantage of the situation. Valentin Cordier unfortunately losing out massively on that, and the driver who managed to keep it all clean, Cairo Samuel, well, unfortunately justice wasn't served for him, but we'll have to wait and see how the race progresses as they head out onto the Millsand Straight for the first time this race. Meanwhile, Nico Dudek currently in P1 for the LMGT3s. Mikolajczak managed to make a move on Brandon Kleinen within the first 6 corners of this track, and now the gap between them, half a second between the race leaders, but it's even close between Lynn and Jordan Gale here. The Porsche and the McLaren here for P5 and P6. Waylon Lynn alongside into the first chicane, dives to the apex. Good move from the number 70. Yes, I wasn't sure whether it was the number 70, so it was P5. Didn't quite know which number it was, but we got there in the end. A little bit of a tongue-tied thingy-majiggy, but we got there. And it's already died down. The action already slightly underwhelming because, of course, the circuit is so long and so massive. We've got plenty of opportunities for slipstreaming though. Cordier currently sat in the slipstream of Peterson in the Toyota into the braking zone though, having to hold back slightly. And the two Cadillacs at the back of the grid, yeah, looking a bit lonely there, but they all can at least still see the car ahead, which is brilliant. Brandon Kleinen and Nico Dudek, though, we've got a massive battle here for the race lead. Nico Dudek in P1, Brandon Kleinen sneaking past Mikolajczak for P2. Yay. Again, elbows out from the two of them. It's not even lap 2 yet, boys. It's only the first lap, and there's already a few elbows being thrown out. Kalinin forcing his way past the Ferrari. Mikołajczak, he's no stranger to danger. Down into the right-hander of turns 10 we go. It's going to be tricky to see how these guys deal with this next corner. Mikołajczak trying to open it up for himself. Oh, it's a bit sketchy here for Lagan in the background. Also catching up to these guys, using the slipstream to try and gain on these two here. Oh my goodness, and that is for Lagan. Oh no, that is Kalinin straight into the wall in the background. Ay, ay, ay. Kalinin under braking just, I guess, got up onto the curb a little bit too much. And as a result, he's dropped down the grid and is likely completely out of the rest of the race. His car is completely wrecked. Mikołajczak, big sigh of relief. But, oh my goodness, not a sigh of relief in the slightest for Kalinin, who DNFs on the first lap of the race. Ay, 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 that's not what you want to see. First time you go around the circuit and you end up binning it at the Indianapolis bend. Ay, ay, ay. Not ideal in the slightest. And after all that, closest gap we then have is Mikołajczak and oh my goodness, Dole Peterson going slow. What's happened to Dole Peterson? He's dropping through the LMGT3 grid. Looks like he's had an issue. Yes, I think his whole rear wing is missing. What's happened to the I think it's a Norway person. I don't know what you call them. Nord, as in like the Nordschleife. No, this driver's nursing home a very damaged car. Yeah, no rear wing at all. So something's happened to the number 8 Toyota. Ay, ay, ay. First lap woes. Not fun for any of them. Gale and Lynn had a lovely little battle into the first chicane. Good stuff from the two of them to keep it clean. That battle potentially still on the line. The Porsche still on his rear end. This is going to be for P4 in class. Oh, Peterson obviously pitting right now so that he can repair the damage to his rear wing. Absolutely massive crash, I'm sure, somewhere. Denmark flag, yes. Oh my goodness, and Gale's lost it as well. Oh, yeah, yeah. Good save from the Brit. Oh, lovely stuff. Out into the grass, a little bit of traction loss on the rear end, but he kept it together. Good stuff. Good stuff. Only thing that's not good is the gap to Lynn ahead, which has now grown up to 1.4 seconds, essentially. Slipstreaming, I think at this point, about 2 seconds down. Maybe not as strong. I think it's about half a second where you can really feel the effect. Oh, and he's already outbraked himself into the first chicane, and you can see how hot those disc brakes are. Or brake discs, which is probably the better way to say it, rather than disc brakes. Yeah, because obviously they all do use disc brakes. It would be very interesting to see a car racing with drum brakes. Just imagine how quickly those things would overheat. I wonder whether there is. I'm sure there is some sort of discipline out there that races with drum brakes. That would be very interesting. They have holes cut on the side of it for ventilation. Just get brake fluid leaking out. You need to fill it below a certain level, otherwise it just starts falling out the hole at the top of the drum. Oh, where's Gale gone? Where has Gale gone? Excuse me. So Lynn's still there. Bogat is then the next driver. So Gale just Harold de Kock. And then Jordan Gale. What? There was nothing to indicate that something was wrong other than the steaming brake discs. And Gale now also retires from the session. First Kalinin, then Gale. There was no crash for Gale though. There was only a slight outbraking at the first chicane. But other than that, nothing else. But here we go. We've got a battle on our hands now for P4. Bogat on the inside, making it down the inside of Van Lagen on the Mustang. Easy move there through the right-hander into the left-hander of the Indianapolis bend. Nothing that he could do, and that's the move done and dusted for the number 40. 46, almost got on the 44. That's Van Lagen behind. So yeah, BMW up into the top 4 now, chasing Lynn, chasing that gap that has now opened up much, much larger because Gale isn't there to fill the gap. You will feel, yeah, you've got to leave this hole in the action. We don't appreciate that. Yeah, he's all, well, yeah, that's quite a start. Yeah, not good. And the rest of the race, yeah, sizing up to be a bit interesting for me, because we now only have 12 cars racing and a hypercar way down, Young's way down in P-Lance at the moment, P12 for him. But we do have a battle shaping up between the 251 Ferraris, Schlichting and Belder. I don't know why they couldn't just do 2 different Ferraris to make it easier to understand which car is which, because I'm confused. I'm going to be calling them 51, and you'll be wondering, yeah, who are you talking about? In terms of the championship, Belder, he's not really appeared at all. Belder turned up for Spa, I think it was Spa, at least. First race of the season. And he got P9. So, yeah, no, it's interesting to say the least. 9 tenths between these two, now down to 7 tenths, of course, as they get into the braking zones. Almost just half a second between them. Slipstreaming from the Ferrari ahead should help as well, trying to close the gap. But that Van Lagen-Borgat fight, yep, it was quick, it was done. 1.1 seconds now. So, yeah, I think the action might be slightly skimpy tonight. But it doesn't help, of course, so we didn't get more than 5 hypercars in today. Now only, still 5 hypercars, but now down to only 7 LMGT3s, which is a big gutter. Yeah, I do hope that we get more drivers in the future, because it's amazing. The racing action can be absolutely awesome, as we saw between Michalachak and Van Ooneke last week. Hard racing, basically just an all-out brawl for P5. And, yeah, hands were thrown, probably some names were yelled, and all that jazz that happens off camera. But we saw a lot of stuff on camera, on track, and, yeah, to say the least, it was a bit, I wouldn't say offensive, but it was hard contact. It was an all-out fight. No holds barred. They were properly swinging. Yarovyi, welcome, dude. First comment, bruh. Yes, that's kind of how I feel as well. Disappointing turnout, disappointing first lap for many, bruh. And that's lap 2 done. Cool. On to the third. That is the pace at which we're going. Yes, 3.5 minutes to try and get round the circuit for the LMGT3s. Even longer. No, sorry. 3.5 minutes for the hypercars, and it's more than 4 minutes for the LMGT3s, not the other way around, because the hypercars are faster, yes. Yes, these cars are the hypercars. And if I do start talking to myself, other than in the commentary, as always, please know I'm not, what do you call it, schizophrenic. I merely try to make points to myself. I don't talk to myself in the third, but well, I just did. Ugh. It's not looking good for me, guys. Sometimes I swear I can hear voices in my head, and then it turns out to actually be a V8, such as Belder's V8 or the Van Lagen's Mustang, and I think, actually, good. Now, that's one voice I want in my head. The sound of an electric car then being drowned out by the V8 as they switch to it in the pit lane. Now that is also a good question. Which I don't know how to say it. Which hypercar switch kind of in the pit lane do you guys like the most in terms of engine sound, going from like the electric to the actual engine? For me, every time it's Cadillac. Like just the absolute roar of the Cadillac just sounds so raw, absolutely awesome sound to it. Of course, you've also got the Aston Martin V12s racing this year, which haven't been introduced to Le Mans Ultimate yet, but will hopefully be coming at some point in the near future. They also sound pretty cool. just pure V12. But I do quite like that swap between the electric kind of motor and then the full-on kind of roar of the V8s. It just sounds absolutely amazing. Even something like the BMW, which isn't actually out tonight. Samuel, what are you doing? P4, the number 3, has DNF'd. And Mr. Samuel currently in P4, and he's gone. We have lost another driver, and now hypercars are down to 3. Schlichting, Belder, and Dole Peterson. So even though Peterson had a horrible start, he'll still finish on the podium essentially. Sorry, we've got four more, so he's just outside the podium. If we can catch up to these guys, then he will have done an absolutely incredible job. Yawn a little bit. Yeah, bruh. That's exactly how I'm feeling as well. We can't have... If we have 1 or 2 DNFs, you know, that's chill, it's okay. But at Le Mans, when we've only got 5 cars, yikes. Yeah, 4 cars now remaining in the hybrid class. And over on the LMGT3 side of things, we've already lost 2 of them. So that's going to be 7 LMGT3s. What's in Hunger Games, says Esel. Yeah, Hunger Games it is. Last man standing will win, essentially. It seemed like it last week, especially at Brands Hatch, in terms of just the sheer amount of wipeouts and stuff we had. Everyone was just crashing everywhere and spinning out and colliding with each other. It was quite an interesting one. But yeah, I never thought we'd see the day where hypercars would then finish and there would only be 3, and so essentially the finishes were the guys who managed to get a podium. Which, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, if you're willing to go that distance, if you're willing to give it everything and go all the way, then obviously, you know, you deserve that win. So then, yeah, Philip Schlichting then P1 for the hybrids, Belder in P2 and Cordier P3 in the hypercar class, while Dudek, Mikolajczak and Lynn are your podium runners at the moment for the LMGT3s. Yeah, the gaps have already opened up massively. 2.1 seconds between Schlichting and Belder, 11 seconds between Belder and Cordier. We can only now see that blue Cadillac in the background coming around the corner. And then, of course, we've got the LMGT3s, 4 seconds and 9 seconds, the gap between Dudek, Mikolajczak and Lynn. Largest gap on track at the moment, obviously Dole Peterson in the hypercar trying to catch up to the back end of the LMGT3s. Gale, Francesco P last at the moment, 105 seconds behind Peterson. Yeah, the gap's a massive cock, 11 seconds, 12 seconds now between Belder and Cordier for P2 and P3. And because the circuit is so long, we won't really have too much blue flag action apart from the usual hypercar and LMGT3 stuff. But even so, they've not crossed Francesco's path yet. Francesco's path yet. So he's now heading into the braking zone for the Mulsanne bend. Do that right-hander, the number 59. That's down at turn 9. And our race leader, Philip Schlichting, is now making his way, actually, as we speak, through that same corner, and there is Francesco. Brilliant timing. Speak of the devil. No, I mean, speak of Schlichting and Belder, and of course Cordier in a while, and then maybe also Dole Peterson after a very long while. So the first of the GT3 is being lapped now. And that took... Oh my goodness, and there we go, Schlichting also makes a mistake. Belder now basically alongside, and the traffic gets in the way as well. Belder, though, not really too badly affected there. In fact, he's taking the race lead, so I'm sure he's thinking not too bad at all indeed. 0.8 seconds between these two. Road T7 literally commented a little while earlier, do you think Belder is good enough for P1? Yep, he is. He's just taken P1, Schlichting down to P2 after a mistake into the Indianapolis bend. Ay, ay, ay. That has not gone well for him at all. Out into the gravel and almost into the wall. He did manage to keep it out though. So at least there's no damage to his car as of yet. There is damage to his tyres though. Of course he did lock up fairly heavily. And as a result, we'll probably be struggling with that slightly. Although, considering his pace at the moment. And the gap between them, half a second between our two race leaders, the two Ferraris. Dole Peterson comes into the pits as well. Please don't say that's because he is coming in to stop the race. Oh, but because Belder is... Oh my goodness, everyone into the pits now. Racing to the pits, Belder on the exit of that little corner there, sideways, and that allowed Schlichting alongside, essentially straight into the pits. And everyone's now coming in. I'm assuming that's because there is some rain to be had. It does look a bit dull, doesn't it? The rain does seem to be coming on. Kenneth Dole Peterson. Wait, hang on. Was that Valentin Cordier smashing straight into the rear end of Schlichting? What the heck? Yes, there is no ghosting on. So I think actually, yeah, Cordier might have just gone straight through Schlichting as he came to the pits. Yikes. The action in the pit lane is more entertaining than the action out on track, because now Schlichting and Belder are alongside each other, straight out of their boxes, and Schlichting slightly ahead. Belder will have the inside line up through turn 1 though. The race lead at stake here. This is what we want to see. Cones scatter as Belder then pulls in behind Schlichting. Wow, close racing between these two. A mistake from Schlichting initially, and that allowed Belder through. Belder made a mistake, allowed Schlichting alongside, and in the pit stops, Schlichting actually came out first, or just ahead, and then it was Belder, and out through the consequent corners up into turn 5. Yeah, we now have Schlichting back at the front. Yikes. The cones definitely did scatter, yes. I think Cordier might be coming out right. Nope, Cordier has already come out, so I just wanted to see where the cones were, whether they were properly all over the place. Francesco Rancesco into the pits as well, so we might see here when he comes back out. But I think 1 second between these two, could still see something happen, especially if Schlichting makes a mistake. I assume that's why he did make the mistake earlier, is because of the rain, or the changing conditions, because it does look a little bit more wet, and it is unfortunate that we can't really see the difference between dry and wet until it is properly sopping wet. It's a bit hard to see the rain when the camera is constantly moving and the car's moving, but we can see the wipers frantically going back and forth on the 251 Ferraris out at the front of the grid. 20 minutes in, we're only a third of the way through, and we've already got rain interfering in the affairs of the race leaders. There we can see the official announcement on the timing screen. 40 minutes remaining. Mike, nice to see you again, sir. Yes, the cones. He's still saying they clearly don't like him. Yeah. I think though it might have been that he had no choice. We'll see. Francesco Rancesco, maybe one of the greatest names of all time, says Mike Mouse. Yes, it is. I agree. We were playing around with the pronunciation earlier, trying to roll the R's, just like Sally from Cars to Francesco Bernoulli. Although we don't quite get the same voice. My voice is not very... it's not very good when it comes to that. However, we have got something going on. Mikulicak and Waylo... Oh my goodness, we've got all sorts of chaos here. Mikulicak and Borgat. I guess the rain throwing some, not caution to the winds, it's throwing caution out the window, shall we say. Borgat and Mikulicak coming together through the Porsche bends, through bridge bend, through card bend, any of those right at the end. Oh my goodness, and Mikulicak straight into the barrier. That's a hard contact. Oh yeah, the number 66. I'm not sure whether he's going to recover from that. Rear wing is already gone. He's inching out of the gravel. It's not quite possible here for the Ferrari. 7 tenths between the two race leaders, though. Oh my goodness, there's chaos right behind him as well. William van Lagen, the number 44 Mustang, sounds like he's had something happen there as well. Ay. Dole Peterson making up some ground as well through the LMGT3 pack. Now with everyone pitting, he did make a pit stop much early because his rear wing was missing, and now he's made the early pit stop as well to take advantage of the rain, and as a result he's now making his way up. The Hunger Games continue indeed, and the gap between Schlichting and Belder is 6 tenths. And we have another DNF to add. Fourth DNF of the evening in a grid of only 14 cars. There now only remains 6 LMGT3s and 4 hypercars, 2 of which are sliding around in the rain on the final corner out of the forward chicane, absolutely hammering it despite the rain, absolutely hammering it down as well, and the spray flying up into the atmosphere. It's back up to a second though. Let's see what the damage is on those cones, by the way. Let's see. Wei Long Lin coming out. It's not too bad. Only 2 cones knocked over, I reckon. It's not too bad. Elder Cook. We'll see what the cones look like on board. Straight out the pit lane. Let's see what it looks like. No gaps really to worry about as such at the moment. Belder and Schlichting actually closing slightly, but it's, of course that's out onto the straight. They've got all the slipstreaming happening, and then into the chicane they go. Yeah, only one. Actually, yeah, 2 cones. 2 cones. That's not bad. Their families will miss them, and it feels, yeah, it feels somewhat insensitive to say, yeah, there were only 2 cone fatalities. We have to be more respectful of them. They've been through a lot, I'm sure. This is probably not the worst they've had. Well, look at the rain, absolutely pouring it down. Just last week we were deliberating about, oh, Belder slightly out of shape through that first chicane. Oh, he has kept it together though. Ah. This rain is going to be nuts. This rain is going to be scary. Yes, of course, at Le Mans it does rain. But why we had to do that with such a small grid, I don't know. Maybe that is the reason why we have such a small grid, is because a massive announcement got put out saying it's going to be raining. Get your wets on. Get your raincoats. Get your boots on. And everyone's like, nah, I don't want to wear my boots. I will just want to go in my sneakers, shorts and t-shirt, thank you very much, or flip-flops. That's especially been the case for me today with the weather. It has been fairly hot, but it's been a bit muggy, as many Brits have said. So it's a bit humid. So it wasn't actually the greatest weather. I would love some of this rain right now. But then again, sunshine is really nice, so maybe we'll get some of that tomorrow. But the clouds, yeah, the clouds have always been there despite all the sunshine as well. So it's just been hot and humid. So 4 DNFs then. He's all wondering how many there will be at the end of the race. Yeah, get your bets in now, boys. Let's get the gambling going. Let me just disclaimer real quick. HSR Motorsport does not advocate for gambling. Neither do I. Yeah. What are the odds that we only have 3 hypercars finish the race, and I'm gonna say 5 LMGT3s. I reckon we'll only have 5 LMGT3s at the end. At the moment we're not too far, so we only need 1 more hypercar to retire, and 2 more from the LMGT3s for that. I wish we could get replays, man. It would be so cool to see this. It would be so cool to see. Well, I say cool. Horrifying is probably a better word. It would have been terrifying to have seen what happened between Mikolajczak and I think it was Van Lagen or something. Actually, it was Burgat, wasn't it? The BMW. Yeah, we'll have to. Well, I wish we could see what happened there. We'll have to get some sort of onboard action. The Ultimate, please fix this. Get the replay function working, and then this will be one of the best, I think, streaming orientated games out there at the moment. He's all saying we need gambling on how many cars are left and how many cones. I think cones will be fine. We're about halfway through now. And pit stops have already happened, so the only way that we lose more cones is that we get more crashes. Oh, it's Schlichting! Yep, he's adding the odds to that bet. He's gone completely sideways. Belder now alongside. On the throttle they go through the left hand, and Belder assumes the race lead. Oh my goodness, the race leaders are not immune from mistakes, as we see many a time tonight. At least they've all managed to keep it out of the wall. Unlike a certain Mr. Mikolajczak and some of the other drivers. I think Clayton was the other one who didn't manage to keep it out the wall. Straight into it at the end of the Indianapolis Bend, and the lead changes hands once more. Belder and Schlichting now swap positions. Belder ahead, Schlichting P2. That's the timing, absolutely. inverse of the commentator's curse. Is it? Do we call it the commentator's blessing? Belder and Schlichting now slipstreaming into the first corner. Schlichting deciding to try and make a move. Holds back though. A little bit of an overshoot from both of them. Right on the track limits for Belder in the lead 51 car. Straight out onto the Mulsanne straight yet again. 0.1 seconds between them. Great race in here for P1, the race lead. This is what we want to see happen for the race lead. Schlichting to the inside. Belder still holding on to the outside. I love the pattern made by the spray behind them, by the way. Into the second chicane, though. Will they both outbrake themselves again? Have they both adjusted to the wet conditions yet? It seems they have. Yes, they have done well on the curbs, though. On the exit, Schlichting takes that position. Schlichting takes the race lead in adverse conditions. Wow, good stuff. So Schlichting, I think, is the faster driver here, but he's also the most temperamental, the most liable to make a mistake. Let's see what it looks like from Belder's perspective. Maybe a slightly more open view. Okay, this is better. Close to the wheel, a little bit lower down. At the spot where the window wiper cannot reach. I had that at Fuji just last week. The camera was mounted on just the one spot where the window wiper can't get the rain away. So it's like you missed a spot. You missed a spot there, so you missed it again. Your window wiper missed it. You've still got something there. The drops can't park there, mate. The drops can't park there. Awkward camera angles beside the point. We've got Schlichting and Belder still half a second between them though. Yeah, it's still quite entertaining here up at the top of the grid. Only 10 cars remain in the race, probably the least amount of cars I've ever had to commentate on, I think. But yeah, the action up here at the top, very entertaining so far. So yeah, Esau, we just need to start talking about gambling again, start talking about bets, odds that cars start spinning out and stuff, and then hey ho, we'll get another mistake from Schlichting. I don't know, but he's still going full chat, and he's already opened up almost a second gap on Schlichting, but of course that can vary quite a bit. But yeah, back to my point about the cones, or again, mistake from Schlichting. Roti saying, how much wing do you think Schlichting has to gain? How much wing do you think Schlichting has to gain time on straights? I don't know. I'm not. In terms of setups overall, I'm not very good at it. The ultimate setups, I don't know, but this is setting up to be a lovely move up into turn one for Belder. Terrible run there for Schlichting, trying to get through the traffic of Francesco up through the right-hander in the rain. Oh, turn two. It's got to be an interesting one, both into the curb. Is it a move from Belder? He does look to the inside. Schlichting not put off by it though, still keeping it nice and clean on the wet line. Good exit from Belder though. Could we see a move through the right-hander, through the bends? It's going to be very, very dangerous to get in there. In fact, it's going to be a very dangerous move either way, depending on, well, it's going to be a dangerous move wherever he goes, even out on the Mulsanne straight. But that's going to be a better bet than through the S's, I reckon. 0.3 seconds there. Bit more momentum carried by Belder in the following 51. Half a second slipstreaming might be viable here. But yeah, Roti, how much wing do you think Schlichting has to gain time on straight? Oh my goodness, was that a GT3 straight into the wall? Somewhere here? No? I just saw something up at the top of my screen go across. I was like, huh? I'm not seeing any DNF messages, so that's good. So it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. 0.2 seconds out into the second half of the Mulsanne straight into the second chicane. I think Belder's got an opportunity here, Roti. Yes, Belder is on a rampage now, and he wants that position back, and he wants to make that position fairly this time. Slipstreaming, he's come alongside a little bit of a gain, but not quite alongside. Still needs a little bit more speed. Schlichting still opening up the corner as much as he can for himself. Belder earlier on the brakes. And that is his attempt at the move done, at least for that corner, but through the exit of the chicane, he's still hot on his heels and will be on the inside for the next corner alongside. 0.05 seconds between them now. You've got the Indianapolis bend ways ahead. It's the Mulsanne hump and the Mulsanne bend that will decide this position for now. Belder virtually ahead by the time they hit this right-hander. Kink under braking though, who can keep it the most stable? Schlichting almost off the circuit as they head into that right-hander and out onto the straight. It is Belder who made that position stick. Lovely stuff from the lead 51 at the moment. Schlichting has got the slipstream. It'll be up to him to make a move into the Indianapolis bend, but I think that's going to be very sketchy. He does opt to go around the outside because that'll give him the inside for the Indianapolis bend. It's a little right-hander. Kink heading into a long left-hander. Lovely side-by-side action indeed, Diesel. Through the right-hander, Belder slightly ahead, but of course under braking, Schlichting will lurch ahead to the apex. Cut back from Belder, almost alongside as they head through the right-hander then of the Arnice bend now. But there's no space to be had here, and Schlichting in the race lead then. He assumes that position once more. 0.2 seconds between them, though they will still have the slipstream up into the Porsche Benz. But there, I think that is where Schlichting's luck will run out, because we've seen Belder gain some good time on the lead 51 through there. And why I say lead 51 is because they are two 51 Ferraris. They couldn't have been the number 51 and the 52. It couldn't have been the yellow Ferrari. They had to go for exactly the same one. But I have to say the action though, mostly fairly even, but I think slightly biased towards Schlichting. He's made the most mistakes so far tonight in terms of slides and spin outs and stuff. He's really been the one creating all these opportunities for Belder to make the overtake. And Belder, he's just been enjoying those opportunities, taking them and trying to hold on to them. But at the end of the day, Schlichting is just, there's just something about his pace today that means he can just nip along and get straight past. Slow speed sections though, that is Belder's speciality, and he's alongside now for turn 1, down the inside and into the left-hander. We will go up at the top of the hill. Whether Belder's position there will be favourable or not, it seems to have been beneficial, because Belder now takes the race lead. Schlichting in P2, they didn't even make it to turn 2, and Schlichting took a wider line through there. Was it the rain interfering side by side through the S's? This is going to be sketchy. Watch out, boys, don't crash here. Slight touch. Lovely racing. Schlichting and Belder just enough space going through the S's, still side by side. Belder along the outside now, Schlichting on the inside, both on the edge of the grip. Both just managing to hold on to the little bit of traction. Their tyres going to fall them on this wet surface. And out of Tetra Rouge, they are side by side once more. This is stunning. 0.04 seconds between them. They're not even slipstreaming out on the Mulsanne straight. This is absolutely amazing. Belder and Schlichting alongside. It will be Schlichting who has the outside line. Belder on the defense into the first chicane. But under braking, Schlichting just gets a little bit ahead. Under the rest of the corner, though, is Belder who comes ahead. Unlawful overtake, I want to say, or unconventional overtake. Schlichting slightly overshot the first half, and then, of course, came through and took the position, but he has given that position back, so good stuff from him. Again, slipstreaming down into the second chicane we go. Schlichting now on the inside line, Belder still on the outside. It seems as though Schlichting is a little bit better on the brakes in the rain, and he proves that point once more, but it is the cut back for Belder alongside, and once more Schlichting has completely outbroken himself. If he keeps that momentum, he at least can still battle for P1. 0.2 seconds between them once again. This is absolutely stunning action. The twins just cannot let go of each other. I agree, Esel. 0.2 seconds between them. Schlichting, even though he's been outbraking himself, absolutely phenomenal job at maintaining his momentum to keep the battle going. Still 0.2 seconds. And you say, how many laps in a row, lol? 2. Yes, it has only been, well, at this point, maybe only even 1, because the circuit is so long. We've definitely had more than 3 minutes of action, though, so I think it might be 2 laps. Down the inside, lovely camera angle here. Schlichting alongside Belder, pushing him across. He's going to have the inside line for the next corner. Once again, just side-by-side action here, and he's had a little bit of extra speed on the exit, and he does take the lead position. Schlichting back up into the race lead. Probably the 4th change of lead. Someone will have to keep counting. Someone will have to go back in the replay and count it, because next week I'm pulling out this stat. How many times did we have the change for the lead at Le Mans? Well, we had it so many times. How many changes for the lead did we have over on the GT3 side of things? Nothing. Yeah, I have to say the GT3 side of things a bit more stagnant. Dudek and Mudgat 24 seconds, 14 seconds between Mudgat and Lin. That is your top 3 for the LMGT3s. Dudek Dudek, Burgat and Lynn, followed by Koch, Van Lagen and Francesco, your remaining surviving LMGT3s. I would say the rest of the grid, well, they are just surviving at this point. We've already had 3 LMGT3s retire, 3 out of the 9, that means we only have 6 left, and we've already had another hypercar retire as well. Dale Peterson, though, back up to P4. He's already made his way through the LMGT3's standings-wise and managed to get through that crowd all right. Look at how much time Schlichting is losing, though. Through this slow section, Schlichting just loses so much time, and Belda again 0.3 seconds now as they head into turn 1. Is going to be a similar story to earlier. Is Schlichting going to go out wide and not have ideal braking for the second corner? At the moment, though, all still kind of fine. So it seems as though Schlichting better on the high-speed corners, long straights, and Belda low-speed stuff. That's his game. Maybe running a little extra traction control, or just a better driver when it comes to putting down the power on those slow corners. Because of course, the hybrid cars rely on quite a lot of downforce, both under the car, I mean, and on the rear end of the car. As Dale Peterson would know, he's tried driving without the grip coming from the rear end of the car, and he said, "Yeah, I don't quite enjoy that." Came straight into the pits and had to revisit once the rain came out. He's still saying the sun, the water, the alongside battle, the Le Mans. Indeed, I did think today was going to be a little bit pale, but it has actually turned out to be quite a colourful affair here for the race lead of all things. Amazing stuff here. The most points on offer in the Hypercar Championship up at the top of the grid. Philip Schlichting doing really well to hold on to the race lead. Belda, even though he only managed P9 at Spa, good stuff from him to keep up the effort as well. This will definitely advance him much further up in the championship standings. Schlichting, though, will only extend his gap over Cordier and Peterson. Peterson, of course, in P4. He'll still get a decent points finish because it's still P4 at the end of the day. But yeah, at the same time, he's going to be losing ground on Schlichting, who seems to be dominating it at the moment. He got P2 in the first race, P1 at Bahrain last week, and it's shaping up to be another podium today. Whether it's P1 or P2, I don't know. We might even see him P3 if things go horrendously wrong. Hopefully not a DNF from one of these two. Belda, though, best result has been a P9, and that was the first race. He didn't show up for Bahrain last week, so this is actually absolutely amazing for him. Cordier, P3 at the moment, both in the championship and in the race. He managed a top 5 in the first race, and then P2 last week. No, it wasn't actually Spa that was the first race, it was Monza. I keep getting the two confused because I'm doing another Le Mans Ultimate Championship, so it's a bit back and forth between them. It was Spa that was the first race for the other one. Apologies. It was Monza first for HSR. And look how much Belda's gaining on Schlichting under braking. Yeah, he just seems to be a lot cleaner through there. Schlichting just seems to be going all out, and Belda, yeah, he's just kind of allowing Schlichting to do his thing, picking up the pieces. Yes, Rosie, I agree. This is amazing racing. I think that has kind of made up for the 40 minutes of dullness we've had so far. Good 5 to 10 minutes of non-stop action for the race lead. Absolutely amazing stuff. I agree. Great racing between these two. At the moment, half a second still between them. The closest gap on circuit. I do wish we could have a look at some of the other cars, but we cannot afford to take a risk between these two. Let's see how much time Belda can gain in this final sector. And the break in. Yeah, look at how much time he's gaining. Oh, and I think this is it. Belda and Schlichting alongside once again across the line when they come. And it's actually Belda who's managed to make the position just like that on the exit of the corner. Yes, we've been talking about how bad Schlichting is through those low-speed corners. This has only confirmed that point even further. Schlichting losing out massively. He lost out the race lead, and now he's got a Mustang getting in the way as well. That has allowed Belda to pull ahead by about 1 second. Now it's whether Schlichting can actually keep up with him on the straights, because we've talked about, again, Schlichting seems to be pretty good on the straights, pretty good through the high-speed corners, just good on pace overall. but Belder really excels in the low-speed sections. And now that the traffic has interfered, do we reckon the slipstream will still be there for Schlichting to use? He's had a better exit, so slipstreaming will eventually come into play here. So it's not over yet. Belder and Schlichting, this battle will continue. Battle of the ages, battle of the 30th of May, battle of the 18 minutes left to go. Rossi asking, who do you think will end up winning? I have no clue at this point, mate. I have no clue. I think with Belder ahead, he's not been making as many mistakes, but again, he's not been under that much pressure. So I don't know how he'll perform with Schlichting right up behind him. Every time they've come head-to-head with Schlichting behind, Schlichting has made his way ahead. To be fair, you know, in just fair side-by-side racing, and Schlichting has come out on top. As long as Belder can stay ahead and Schlichting doesn't get the slipstream or doesn't get effective slipstreaming, I think he'll be fine, especially in the low-speed sector as well. That low-speed section on the final corner might be the thing to seal the deal. If Belder is ahead by the time they get to those final few corners, he will win. I'm going to put it out there. And if he can keep Schlichting out of his slipstreaming, or out of his slipstream, I should say, not slipstreaming, out of his slipstream for the final lap or so, yeah, he's got it in the bag. But until then, it's essentially a war of attrition. Who is going to make a mistake, Belder or Schlichting? But to be fair, Schlichting has had some really good pace in him, so yeah, I don't know. Schlichting just seems really quick over the course of the majority of the lap, and then it's the low speed section where, yeah, Belder just absolutely excels and then closes up the gap really quickly, and that served him really well, really quite recently, a couple minutes ago I should say. 16 minutes to go then in this race. Yes, we've gone through 3/4 of it. It has actually flown by, which is really quite surprising to me. Belder leading the race at the moment, Schlichting in P2 and Cordier P3, but Cordier is a long ways away, 14 seconds to the good of the following 51. We've then got Dudek, Burgat and Lin in P1, P2 and P3 for the LMGT3s. And let me actually check out what the standings are championships wise for the LMGT3 at the moment. Ooh, it's just gone haywire. Software issues, half a second between Belder and Schlichting though. We shouldn't take our eyes off this battle as darkness starts to fall and the headlights start coming on as well. That will be another factor to keep in mind, whether it will get dark enough to turn on the headlights fully. I'm not sure it is. I think we'll just about get to the end of the race before it gets too dark. But yeah, Eric Nonnenmacher currently P1, Nico Dudek P2, Brandon Clayton P3. We'll have to put that battle aside because we have a battle for the race lead once again going, and Belder has messed up that slow sector. Schlichting now on the inside for turn 1. Is he going to be alongside by the time they get to the braking zone for turn 2? Belder doesn't want to take that chance. Massively defensive into the second corner. Schlichting carrying some good speed through turn 2. Out on the exit though, no kind of advantage really for the following 51, still 0.2 seconds. Again, we'll have some slipstream out onto the Mulsanne straight out of Chartres Rouge, as long as they keep it out the wall here and keep the traction going. A little bit of a little twitch, you could say, from Schlichting behind. And it seems to be in a terrible exit for Belder. Here we go, Schlichting coming back for the race lead once more, 0.2 seconds between them. He's got the slipstream as well. That's going to help alongside that good exit. And, oh, a bit of weaving going on. Belder, not quite sure which way he wants to go. Schlichting opting for the outside line, and he's had so much speed. I think that was a good choice. Round the outside, takes the race lead. Into the first chicane we go. Belder still on his rear end. Keeping the momentum through here is going to be key to see who can eventually then make a move for the race lead, or who can hold on to the race lead, shall we say. Schlichting takes the race lead. Again, just a pure pace from this man in the lead 51. Seems to put him out of the front time and time again, but it's the mistakes from the race leader that always causes the car behind to catch up. So at the end of the day, really, it's whoever goes into the final technical section of the forward chicane and then the final chicane they tend to come out with a disadvantage because they're just under so much pressure. I think whoever's gone there in the lead has ended up locking up tyres or just outbraking themselves. They've ended up messing up quite a lot through there. Belder, I didn't expect that, to be honest. I didn't expect Belder to mess up through there. I'd have expected him to build up a small gap on the other car. And we can actually see Dole Peterson there in the foreground, just overtaking Francesco, I believe. Or it's Lynn, sorry, in the number 70 Ferrari. We do actually also have two number 70. Well, I've gone through all the wrong cars. I said Ferrari, then I said Lamborghini. It's a McLaren. Number 70 is a McLaren. There are two number 70 cars, Lynn and Koch in P7 and P8 overall, but that is P3 and P4 for the LMGT3 class. But the action there has not been as much. Oh goodness, the traffic playing a part now. Schlichting and Belder, a little bit of contact there, 0.2 seconds between them. Out onto the Millsand straight we go once more through the Millsand bend. Yeah, still nothing between these two. The twins still going at it, 10 minutes to go. Little gain from Belder. Oh, he's right up behind Schlichting now, really close up to the rear end. Again, through this technical section, through the high downforce corners. Slidey we go, Schlichting and Belder. Half a second between them heading into the final corners now. Into the forward chicane we go, and into the final chicane. Who will mess it up this time? Is it Schlichting who messes up yet again? We've seen him mess up. We've seen him mess up many a time heading into these corners. Too much entry speed and not enough exit speed. Again, 0.7 seconds. It's Belder gaining again. Traction issues for Schlichting, but he has managed to hold on to the lead for now. 0.6 seconds between them as they come across the line yet again. This is probably about 4 or 5 laps now that we've been going for this. Amazing stuff. At least 10 minutes. I will time it officially next week when I rewatch this. Yikes. That's insane. So a quick little graphic on who's gained positions where and whatnot. Schlichting, no place gained for him at the moment. Of course, he qualified P1. It was then Belder in P2 at the moment, who came all the way up from P4. Cordier has dropped a position as well as Dole Peterson. But of course, Samuel DNF has helped both of them gain a position. That has also helped many of the drivers out tonight on the LMGT3 side of things. Of course, Dudek being promoted a position, Bourgat up 3 positions, Koch up 4 positions from where he started. Some good stuff from the second number 70 McLaren. A pity we can't really see too much action from them tonight, but you know, you have to. We had a lot of LMGT3 action last week. Not last week, last round. I'm making a lot of mistakes tonight. That's fine though, because we're all human. But yeah, it was quite entertaining to see the LMGT3s have a go at each other last week. We also had some interclass racing. We had 2 Porsches collide. I think it might have been Gale and who's driving the Jota Porsche. I know a guy in a different championship called Venter, but I don't think that was his name. We put up the standings real quick. It was the Jota Porsche of not Jonas Levon, who says that's not a Porsche. It's not Isaac Busby because he wasn't there last week. I think it was Rucroft. There we go. I think it was Rucroft who had the collision. Yeah, the gap now has opened up massively. Schlichting and Belder 2.6 seconds and gaining. Belder apparently having 100% damage, says Roti7 on the Twitch side of things. Belder has 100% damage, he says. He definitely has damage, yeah, considering the amount of time he's losing. Do you reckon that was in contact with Schlichting? Was that connected to colliding with the number 51? Was that the 51s uniting for once, becoming 151, and that has actually turned out to be worse for their health? I reckon so. There's no other way, unless he grazed the wall on the last lap. On the last lap, he maybe kind of hit the wall side on. Maybe a little bit of contact there, just a slight graze. I mean, Cordier is gaining though. looks like it, 4.1 seconds between Belder and Schlichting now. 14.6 seconds between Cordier and Belder. I think Cordier's just slow. I'm just kidding. He's much faster than me in both the Cadillac, the hypercar, and in general racing. 7.5 minutes to go now. We are drawing close to the end of the race, and the battle between Schlichting and Belder for the race lead has abated massively now. I was going to say somewhat, but it has properly abated now. 4 seconds between them, but the gap between Cordier and Belder closing slightly. 14 seconds between the two for P2. Can Cordier potentially catch up to the rear end of Belder in the Ferrari? 12.7 seconds and closing. I think so, potentially. If we can just keep it a clean race, 7 minutes to gain 13 seconds. That's more than 2 seconds a lap, considering the length of Le Mans. That does seem fairly reasonable. That does seem possible. 13.5 seconds down from 15 the lap before. So fairly good. Their fastest laps are 6/10 different, but of course that is in the dry and the rain. It's a completely different ball game. And I do like how that rhymed. And my English teacher is probably in pain, because I just keep going on with this very long train of words. I'm not a rapper, I am not a poet, I am not very good at either of those things. I unintentionally do it. I'm going to rewatch this and then pick out so many references, so many kind of words and fun ways to say things, because I think I've made a couple funny mistakes tonight. So yeah, at the moment then, our bets up earlier about how many cars are going to come out alive at the end of tonight. At the moment then, Schlichting, Belder, Cordier, Dole, Peterson, 4 hypercars. Dudek, Borgat, Lynn, Koch, Van Hagen, and Francesco, 6 LMGT3s. Or so, yeah, no, 6 LMGT3s. Sorry, telemetry being wrong. So, do we reckon we'll finish with that number, or will we have 1 or 2 more DNFs? Will we have some blue flag action? Just see Dudek just randomly turn into Cordier and take out P3 and lose the race lead? I don't think so. I don't think so personally. But yeah, I think my earlier assumption was a bit hasty. We might see 4 hypercars cross the line. Now, about the gap between Belder and Cordier, it fluctuates. It was about 14 seconds earlier. Now it's about 12.3 seconds. I think Belder's had an issue. Belder just a terrible run out of that corner. Sure. 5.6 seconds between himself and Schlichting now. The gap to Cordier only closing. Well, I say only closing 14.3 seconds. So I think, yeah, Cordier's not really doing too well, I think, in terms of pace. He's not quite got the pace to catch up to the rear end of Belder. Unless Belder makes a mistake. But yeah, I agree with Roti. Belder definitely has damage. It's moving much slower. 12 seconds between them now. He's still saying it'll probably finish like this. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way. Patch 4, quad 4, or the 4 of 4s, 4 squared, shall we say? 4 times 4, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, or just say patch 4. Great job calling the race, he says. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. I have to say it's been really interesting calling all of this action. We've only had action for the race lead, and it sounds really weird when I say this, but we've had about 10 to 15 changes for the race lead so far, yet not a single bit of action anywhere else on circuit. Other than actually Mikolajczak and Borgat colliding on the final chicane as everyone stormed into the pits. It was a proper like elbows, knees. Everyone was just rushing into the pits once the rain started coming on. The thing is, we can't really see that too much from this angle, from the commentary booth, from the camera, I guess, from the TV. We can't really see too much of the rain. the only telltale sign that we get is maybe a slightly darker racing surface and a little bit of spray once it has properly poured down. But until then, it's really difficult to see it. I guess the first sign we should look out for is the window wipers, which aren't going as frantically as they were before. You can see that on Schlichting's car. And yeah, I think the track has slightly dried up now. We can't see as much rain, or as much spray, I should say. Very fitting that we should have rain at this stage in the season. Just last week we were deliberating over when the rain was going to come. It was inevitable. It's inevitable that the league organisers are going to get some sort of terrible weather race in at some point in the season, and they did it at Le Mans. And that is probably why we only have such a small grid. Because when you tell people it's going to be challenging, then some people say, well, I didn't actually like a challenger, they don't turn up. Which is, yeah, I'm not going to lie, it is kind of a roast on the rest of the grid. Why aren't you guys here? If it's because this track sucks and because the weather sucks, then you got to toughen up. Like, it's a part of racing. Like, you almost never get to race in this, so, you know, it's yeah, I don't know. It's also just a bit of a letdown for us. We don't get to see as much action. Although tonight, Schlichting and Belder, though, in the 51 Twins, they've provided all the entertainment we need tonight. I'm sure Belder still happy with P2, though, as long as he can stay ahead of Cordier by the time they hit that final lap, by the time they cross the finish line. I'm sure he'll be happy. P9 is the best he got so far this season in the first race. Schlichting, though, I'm sure he's also happy with the way that came out. You can actually see the two race leaders there, and Peterson. Yeah, Peterson, he's P3 in the championship at the moment, so P2 actually. But yeah, he's just not really had the pace tonight. He had something happen lap 1, his rear wing went missing. He couldn't find it, so he went back to the pits to get a new one, and then had to come back into the pits for some wets, which was, yeah, major loss for the Toyota. If it was the right way around, where it just started raining and everyone else had already done their lap, then this could have actually turned around for Dole Peterson quite well. But as you can see, 236 seconds behind Cordier. Yeah, nothing really happening for him there. Now, million dollar question: will Schlichting come across the line before that timer runs out? Because if he does, then we've got one more lap of racing. If he doesn't, then that's the end. Then that is it. 30 seconds to go through a couple of corners. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. I reckon it might be the end of the race. I reckon this might be the last lap. Schlichting in the lead. This will be the worst end call to a race. The worst way that I can end it. Yes, it is the final lap of the race, and we only find out in the Ford chicane. 0 seconds on the clock. It is now officially the end of the race. Schlichting, through all that trial and tribulation, has come out victorious. P1 again, maybe second time lucky. It's the race win for round 3 here at HSR Motorsport in the LMU Season 2 Championship. Belder taking a well-deserved P2 finish. Cordier P3 in the background there. Also not bad from him. Wow, these three have managed to hold out tonight. They've braved the weather, they've braved the terrible track, as I'm sure many others have said before tonight. Both of them more than happy with their result tonight. Some good racing between them, absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, on the GT3 side of things, Nico Dudek now making his way through the final couple corners, and it's been really quiet in the LM GT3 side of things. Dudek just been doing his thing, 30 seconds ahead of the competition. Borgat P2, he had some great stuff happen though. 4 positions up from where he started up into P2. Great stuff from the number 46. And Lynn in the number 70 McLaren. Also good stuff from him to hold on to P3. Here we go then, into the Ford chicane. Almost called it the Short for Kane. That's how tired my brain is right now. The number 86 comes across the line. The number 86, the Ferrari, wins round 3 of the LMU Season 2 Championship at HSR Motorsports to claim yet some more points in his bid for the championship victory. I'm sure he will be overtaking the championship leader right now. It's his first race win of the season. You better get used to that feeling, buddy, because you're going to go for it again in 2 weeks' time. Borgat P2 first podium of this season. Good stuff for him as well. He's done exceptionally well tonight. And then Lynn in P3. I think slightly, also quite out of the blue for him. He finished P5 last race, but it's finally a podium for the number 70. Through all the chaos, through all the carnage, he's managed to keep it nice and consistent, and this cruises across the line in P3. And then it'll be Koch and Van Lagen in P8 and P9 overall to then cross the finish line. Howard the Koch in the McLaren. Actually, the gap here only, 3 seconds. There we go. I was about to say only 50 seconds because that's the gap between Lynn and Koch, because that's closing rapidly. 2.2 seconds though. Could we actually see a final corner dash between Van Lagen and Koch? I don't think so. No, 2.2 seconds. It's staying somewhat consistent. This is pretty much sealed for Van Lagen. P5 finish for him. No, sorry, P5 finish. Yeah, no, it is P5. Sorry, my brain's just going all over the place. 1.7 seconds between them into the 4 chicane. They go Van Lagen P5, Koch P4. I don't think we'll see anything into the final chicanes, but I've been wrong before. I've been wrong on many, many a time. This could be the one time that the commentator's curse kicks in, or the commentator's blessing, as we called it earlier, and something absolutely nuts happens across the line. But it doesn't. It is Koch who comes across the line first, and then Van Lagen in P5. And Francesco P6, P last for him, but at the end of the day, it could have been P9 up to P6 for him, since we've got some, since we had some retirements there. That was crazy. That was absolutely nuts. So then, the race results then for tonight. Philipp Schlichting taking the race win with Sean Belder only a second behind. Incredible racing between them throughout most of the race, to be fair. Throughout about 20 minutes of the race, it was brilliant. We thought there wasn't going to be much action, but these two filled it more than enough. Valentin Cordier, P3, rounding out your podium, with Kenneth Dahl Peterson just crossing the line for a P4 finish. Nico Dudek in the number 86 Ferrari took the race win for the LMGT3 class, while Christian Burgat made the most of his collision with Mikolajczak to take P2. Wei Long Lin P3 in the lead number 70 McLaren. Harold de Kock in the other number 70 car, P8 for him overall, while William van Lagen rounds out your top 5 for the GT3 class. And then Francesco Rancesco conveniently rounds out both the top 10 and the entire grid. And that is the end of our racing action tonight. The race is complete. It is over. And now we can all go to bed with lovely memories of the amazing battles between Schlichting and Belder and all the rain carnage. I'm not sure whether we'll have some PTSD for some of the folks here. I'm sure we will have some PTSD for many of our drivers tonight who had to retire, such as Samuel, such as Mikolajczak. Kalinen also, really unfortunate incident. First lap, just off on the gravel, nuts. Leonid Yarovier saying, what a battle. I think it's time to buy LMU. This makes me want to play LMU, yeah. This makes me want to drop the commentary and start doing racing. Well, not completely. I will still be doing the commentary, but definitely get some more track time. Senin Ra saying GG to Schlichting and Dudek for class winning. Thank you for stream. Nice race. Well done to all. It has been a pleasure to host for you guys tonight. Leonid Yarovi saying we definitely need more people, especially for a big circuit like Le Mans. It seems to be always the big circuits that seem to put people off. We've noticed it in like the Nordschleife. No one turns up for that, just because it's such a long circuit, just because people are so scared. Oh, I'm gonna crash. I'm gonna. It doesn't matter. Just race. Just race the damn circuit. It's action. Even if it's side by side racing for P10, we don't care. We get to watch it all, and I just get to see all of that. Schlichting saying, holy moly, he's just popped into the Twitch chat. Well done on our waist, man. Well done. That was absolutely incredible. You and Belder on that race lead battle were absolutely incredible. I'm definitely going to be watching that back. My eyes will just be glued to the screen. I usually listen back to it without watching, so that I can kind of listen back to myself, see how I can improve. But this time I'm gonna be watching the action, or if I end up doing it without the action, I'll then go back in time and rewatch it. Yeah, holy moly, I think is the an appropriate response to tonight's race, along with a lot of the other responses that we've had. Some nice screen time there. Oh yeah, mate, you featured heavily, very, very heavily, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of fun rewatching the action. If you want a timestamp, I'll try and get it in the chat soon. I'll just go back in time, or you can go back in time. So it's fairly obvious where all the action started. You probably know better than I do because my memory sucks when it comes to the commentating. So yeah, we'll leave that up to the individual viewers. But let's end that there. Welcome to HSR Motorsport to those of you who've joined very, very late, right at the end. Round 3 concluded at Circuit de la Sarre. Round 3 at the Le Mans. Next week we are back for some more ACC action, and then the week thereafter back for the next LMU race. But of course now we are just over halfway into the LMU season, so things will start spicing up for all the championship battles, and every single point will start counting at the end. Every single point counts all the way, but we'll definitely notice it more towards the end. So that concludes the action tonight. Join us next week, 8 PM BST, for some ACC action, and the week thereafter for some LMU action. Until then, we'll see you all later. Good night.